Today we're going to talk about healthy buildings, how to make your building healthier. And I've got a panel of experts here, and they include Sean McCrady, National Service Line Manager for UL IEQ Testing and Advisory Services, and two of his clients from Brookfield Properties, Robert Cushman, who's the Senior Vice President of Operations US out in California, and his colleague, Brian Pagac, the VP of Engineering for Brookfield Properties. And we're going to talk about the Verified Healthy Building program that UL has, and that Brookfield Properties has engaged in 9 of their buildings and is looking at doing in a bunch of others. So, Sean, I understand there's kind of 3 levels of this Verified Healthy Building program. What is involved in that, please?
Sure. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, that's right. The intention of this, or the intent of this program, is to essentially add building value and look out for the building occupants by proactively looking at things that are most important. And to answer your question, what we've developed is a 3-tiered program. So there's something that meets any specific client need, and they kind of build on each other. So
yeah.
The first tier being the thing that is certainly most topical right now and extremely important when it comes to people's health and the health of the building. That's air quality, right? You got to start with air quality.
Right.
You're doing something holistic. And it's looking at all those pollutants that are kind of endemic to buildings and making sure they're at safe levels. And also there's a qualitative piece of that, which is looking under the hood, right? And looking at the mechanical systems that bring that air in. I think that's a really important part of any program.
Yes. We're hearing a lot of clients out there in Robert and Brian's world, looking at their mechanical systems and saying, what should we be doing? So, okay, yeah. So you got air, and right. Then there's a second level where you do what?
And it essentially builds on the first. So you start with air. Those that are interested in tier 2, you add a water component, and this is always important. I mean, the quality of your water when it comes to waterborne pathogens or things like, heavy metals and all the water quality stuff that's out there, not just from consumption of water, but exposure to water vapor and whatnot. We talk about things like Legionella. So you add in a water component, and it's especially important right now with buildings that have sat, underused for a long time and stagnant water and pipes and whatnot. So it's always important, especially important right now.
Let me ask Robert and Brian, how much occupancy are you getting in your buildings? I mean, to Sean's point there, how much occupancy are you getting in your buildings right now?
Yeah, so Rob, I can speak to that. We depend upon obviously the building and the location, but in downtown LA, our average occupancy, physical occupancy, I should say, is about 12%.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're hearing around the country. 10, 15%, somewhere in there. Yeah. Okay, it's interesting. Sean, I interrupted you. So we have air, we have water quality, and then we've got the super level of your program here.
As we keep building, our third tier is basically called UL Verified Healthy Building for Indoor Environment. And that incorporates, you've got the air, you've got the water, but it looks at other things like building hygiene. It also looks at things that are less about kind of the concerns with what's going on in the world right now, but more about the long-term productivity piece, which is quality of light, quality of acoustics in a building, stuff that really impacts people's productivity. So that's the third tier, and you can see it.
All right. Now, Robert and Brian from Brookfield, you have engaged in the indoor air, the tier 1 program, right? And how many properties have you done that with UL?
So we are proud to say that we've received the UL mark for our entire Southern California portfolio, which is about 9 properties, totaling about 9 million square feet of office product.
That's fantastic. That's great. And I understand, though, that you're working on other properties around or in your portfolio with UL. Is that correct as well?
So Brian and I are responsible for the Southern California portfolio, and we, as I just mentioned, we have gone through the process and completed the process for our entire portfolio. We were really kind of at the point of the spear, if you will, in this program, and we're now looking to do that across the country. But other regions will be responsible for that process.
Okay. Well, what was it? What goes on, Sean? Give us an idea. What goes on in the process? You got people in
Right.
uniforms coming around and cleaning up or something? Like what physically happens to a property during this process?
That's a good question, obviously, and there's a couple things we're looking at, and you know, our job as sort of third party, you know, consultants and inspectors and whatnot isn't to clean up anything or to fix anything. It's basically to inspect and to assess and evaluate. So it's a combination of a few things. I'll keep it kind of high level for the sake of time, but you're testing representative areas for certain air quality parameters that are most important. Everything from carbon dioxide rates to levels of fine dust and VOCs in the air and all that stuff. And you're making sure they're at safe levels. And that's the quantitative piece. The qualitative piece that we were talking about before, it's kind of your crystal ball, right? Because testing by itself is just a moment in time. But when you look under the hood and you assess the hygienic condition of HVAC systems and the, you know, the filtration and the damper settings and all that in combination, now you really have that crystal ball to make sure the building is as it should be moving forward. And then lastly, so there's a policy piece where we make sure there's certain policies so that you know that the building operator has things in place to keep, you know, maintaining and optimizing the indoor environment.
So Brian, from an engineering point of view, how has this worked out for you? What were your concerns representing the facilities, the engineering component of this certification process?
Thanks, Rob. So our concerns were mostly kind of based in best practices, maintenance, the quality of the air, what we're doing about that. So when Sean approached me about the verification mark, I thought it's the perfect combination to have a safe and healthy environment.
Robert, was this in response to COVID, or were you engaging in this before COVID started, or what? When did this all begin with you, and why did you jump in?
Yeah, so Brookfield Properties has had really a long-standing commitment to health and safety for our customers. And to your point, or to your question, I would say as a result of the pandemic, indoor air quality has become really top of mind for our customers.
Sure.
So the UL Verified Healthy Building mark provides an opportunity for us to effectively substantiate, you know, what our commitment has been all along to both our customers and really the broader commercial real estate community.
Yeah. Have you, and I guess this is really for Robert, have you noticed an impact in terms of tenant retention, client interest, occupier response to this? I mean, do people rushing up to you and grabbing you by the shoulders and saying, thanks Rob for making the air so much better in here?
Yeah, fair question. And look, you know, this is, as you probably know, this is a new achievement for us, or at least the certification, I would say, which is just substantiating what we already knew all along. So we're just working on getting the word out to our customers. But I would say, back to my point, with the pandemic, indoor air quality has definitely been top of mind for people. People are now more than ever looking for peace of mind in regards to their building spaces. And the UL mark really helps provide that peace of mind.
Yeah. So Brian, on for the SoCal properties, you've got this certification. Are you going to be adding or embellishing the program or your efforts in engineering in terms of looking at your mechanical systems, doing anything there in terms of, you know, increasing your airflows and so forth? What are you doing physically on that part of it?
Good question. So we've engaged an MEP to look at, you know, mechanical, electrical, plumbing contractor to look at our systems. Can we retrofit them? What can we do to enhance the air quality, better filtration, that type of thing throughout the entire portfolio? We started with one property first to get an idea of what that would look like. And, you know, most of our properties are 30 plus years old, downtown LA. So, but they're, you know, they're million square foot high rises. So we wanted to make sure we look at it from the standpoint of safer and healthier. And then what's the cost going to be to achieve that? So we're doing
How's it look?
Complete analysis. Well, we've already established that we have MERV 13 in every building. on outside air and the air handlers. So it's looking very positive.
Okay, good. Sean, what are you hearing from clients, other clients who have gone through the process with you in terms of what additional things they're doing, particularly post-COVID here, in post-COVID. I wish it was post-COVID.
Yeah, right.
Mid-COVID.
It's a really good question, and it's I mean, we could talk about it for a while, and I'll keep it short. But I think the thing that's been surprising to a lot of people, quite frankly, is that if you start with the fundamentals, right, and really focus on the stuff that's tried and true. I mean, yeah, COVID's new, but the things that you do to fight against it in terms of managing your building aren't, quite frankly. They need attention. There's some tweaking things here and there, but I think one of the surprises to a lot of our clients through the sort of performance testing we were doing, and granted, we're not testing specifically for COVID, but we're testing for all the, these things are all sort of organically risk indicators. I think they're surprised to see that this isn't something where I need to spend a bunch of money on replacing a bunch of air conditioning equipment or doing drastic things. I need to be educated. I need to focus on those fundamentals that are important, and that makes a huge difference because when we talk about COVID, the thing that's getting people sick more than anything is underventilated spaces with a lot of people who aren't being careful. So I think it's a pleasant surprise. The one little silver lining in all this madness is that people learning that, man, I don't need to necessarily go out and spend $100 million to, strip my building down and build it back up. I just need to focus on those things. It's pretty cool.
Robert and Brian, what have you learned from this whole process?
Brian, I'll let you maybe take the first response there.
Robert chickened out. Brian, go ahead.
No. In terms of what we've learned to be committed and to be consistent with best practices and what we're doing related to the maintenance of the systems, which means great air quality. The water isn't stagnant. We're flushing the systems. We're purging the ambient air daily. Things like that, which we've always done that, but now it's more in the forefront of your thought process every day. It's
amazing. Yeah, I'm sorry. Talking to commissioning agents, it's amazing how many mechanical and other pieces of the building are sometimes just, they're really not working right, or sometimes they were installed wrong, and you've got air going the wrong way when it should be. That's it.
Or you think it's working one way and it's not. You look at the building automated system and it tells you something, but if you don't look, then
exactly.
You're absolutely right. And the reliability centered maintenance that we have with our program, and the forethought, with our partner UL, it's to bring all this to the forefront with the IEQ inspections. It's critically important to do that.
Robert, Robert, are you ready now?
Touché. Yeah, no, look, I would say, I think, Brian is our regional expert, but I would say that the process was a good check and balance for us. But ultimately what it did was it substantiated what I frankly already knew, which was that we had put a high value on indoor air quality, and the process through a independent third party just substantiated that.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately why it's beneficial to Brookfield and I think ultimately to the broader community is it puts that stamp of approval, because again, as I mentioned earlier in my remarks, our customers right now, indoor air quality is top of mind. As they're thinking about returning to the workplace, indoor air quality is one of the top questions that they're getting from their employees. And so it's important that we have this verification mark.
Very good. Well, let's leave it there. Our audience can learn more online about the program. There's a website that UL has. And I want to thank our guests for today. They are Robert Cushman, Senior Vice President of Operations in the U.S. and Southern California region for Brookfield Properties. His colleague, Brian Pagac, the VP of Engineering out there. And Sean McCrady from UL IEQ Testing and Advisory Services. Thanks so much for your time today, gentlemen. It's been very interesting talking to you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.